So I may have mentioned before, we've got a project coming up that is a little bit top secret. Let me explain a little bit more behind that. Welcome back to episode 64. I'm Gavin, this is Spitfire Engineering, and this week we head back to Manchester with an inspector to see if the plant that we've built is compliant with all the latest regulations. Now, did we pass? That's the million-dollar question. So Tuesday morning, heading up to Manchester, to the Manchester project. Didn't have a chance to do any filming yesterday. Yesterday was a bit of a blur of meetings with different things. One of the meetings was to discuss the site bank, looking at ways in which we could improve that, and also discussing about the build of one for the upcoming show next month. We're at Plant Works at the Newark Showground towards the end of September, and we're going to build a unit to go on the stand up there. So yeah, yesterday was a pretty busy day with different meetings and different things, but today we're heading up. I've got Adam with me in the passenger seat. Adam's coming up. He's going to come and get some good footage of the project up in Manchester. I'm meeting Graham, our health and safety consultant up there. He is also doing our pure inspections and examinations for the plant up there, so we can sign it off officially from a legal and health and safety point of view. Hopefully we've covered all bases, but we will find out today when Graham does the inspection, just to see if there's anything we've missed to make sure that we're completely compliant with all the latest legislation. Okay, so that's us done the pure inspection with Graham, our health and safety consultant. He's come round, got a checklist of all the things to make sure that we're complying with regulations. And successfully, everything is pretty good. The only recommendation that we've got to do, which we're going to do on the control panel, is we're going to put a key switch on there, like a master control key, a bit like your ignition switch in a car. So if anybody needs to go and do any maintenance on it, they can actually take the key out, take the key with them, and then nobody can operate the equipment whilst you're working on it or clearing any blockages or whatever you're doing maintenance wise. So successful morning. Quite an interesting process going through it with Graham on a plant this size, the different aspects to it, the guarding, access, maintenance, everything that's involved with this as part of the pure assessment. And then that gets compiled into our technical document, which will be our instruction manual, which we'll hand over to the client at the end. That's going to be part of our CE marking, all the pure assessments, the certificate of conformity, the declaration of conformity, all of those different bits and bobs that when you buy a manual for anything that you buy in that, if you look at the small print at the back, what we've done today is leading up to us preparing that document so that we can hand it over to the client and have final sign-off. We're going to have to come back possibly in the next few weeks and do some operator training, some maintenance training for the personnel on site. But yeah, successful morning, all gone well, no big things that we've missed, literally just the key switch that we're going to put on there. Apart from that, all good. Now, if you're a regular viewer, you will know that a few weeks ago, me and Andrea did a little bit of a tour of Scotland, looking at various different projects. Now, one of the projects up in Scotland yesterday actually come to fruition. It's been a bit of backwards and forwards between us and the customer, sorting out the spec and a few other little bits and bobs. Yesterday, they actually confirmed that they were placing the order. I'll let Andrea tell you all about that in the company update coming up.
We have won one of our orders from our Scotland trip. We recently went up to Scotland, Gavin and myself, to deliver a machine originally that George had sold, George that is, and then we went to see 2 or 3 different customers. One of those has just placed a brilliant order with us, which we're really excited to be doing for them. It's a great bespoke build. It is a wash bath, and that's all I'm going to tell you at this point. I'm not going to name the customer. I need to get their permission to say who they are. So for the moment, it's going to be the Scotland project, but I anticipate there may be other Scotland projects coming. So it might be Scotland project number 1, and then we'll see what happens. So yeah, thrilled about that. Really, really excited to be working with this company. Really nice bunch of people. Very, very, very happy, and well done, George. In other news, Alicia and I have been working this afternoon on our stand prep for Plant Works. Reminder that we're in the outside demo area. We've got a big stand, A34, and we're taking 2 big products with us. So we've secured the transport to take them with us because we need a high-ab. It's big stuff we're taking. And then we've just been sorting out things like banners and giveaways, who's coming to the stand, making sure everybody's got the right clothes for the show, so it's all branded. So yeah, all the fun stuff like that, which I love doing. I'm only at the show for 1 day this year, which is the 23rd of September, which happens to be my birthday. So all I'm saying is, if you're going to come to the show on that day, bring a cake, bring a card. I'm always going to eat. So yeah, loads of stuff going on. We're busy, but yeah, it'd be great to see you.
So site bank, this one is painted, so fully painted, pretty much ready to go out. We've got the cover plate for the locking mechanism here, which we can't show you, so Adam's not going to come any further around. So yeah, we've got the cover plate for the locking mechanism, we've got the door to go on, shelves to go in, stickers to go on. Electrics has already been done. Our electrician did that all in one go, and then we've just covered up for paint. So yeah, this is probably the best paint job out of all of them, to be fair. This one is looking very, very nice, very smooth. Nice finish to it. So yeah, these are great on site for keeping your tools secure. So if you've got power tools, anything like that, anything sort of sensitive. So if there's equipment that needs to be looked after and sort of kept in a specific place, these are great for that. So they're double skinned with steel, concrete lined. So they are heavy duty, very, very heavy. If you would like to request to come and have a look at one of these, speak to the sales team above. So these are for hire. They are available pretty much now. So you could get this one next week if you really wanted to. We have replaced, or Colin has replaced, the slats in our Cutivar plasma cutter. So every now and then, I think last time we did it was about February time, we think, they just get filled up with a lot of dross, swarf, cut out parts. So when we do our underguard meshes, which design change is possibly going to happen, these just fill up like crazy. We've got a couple of baskets essentially that just sit, I don't know if I can get one out easy. Yeah, they just sit between the slats, so any small parts, they sit on top of there and we can pull them out without having to dip your hand right the way in. So yeah, Colt emptied this out, scraped off all the crap from the bottom, replaced a load of slats, so we cut all these beforehand. These are 5mm steel. I think that's about it, to be honest. Yeah, everything works a lot better. It gives you a lot more of a level surface when you're cutting, and it makes the whole sort of quality a lot nicer, we think.
Wednesday morning, me and Adam are off on a secret special mission this morning. Now, if you're an eagle-eyed viewer, you'll know that our welders in the workshop are from a company called GYS, and we buy them through our welding supplier, CML Industrial Services, and GYS is actually quite local to us at Rugby, so they've said to us, would we like to go and have a look around their place? So we said, yeah, we'll come and have a look. Sounds quite interesting. So me and Adam are on our way up there to go and have a look around there. That's going to be filmed as a special episode that will come out in the not too distant future. So a special episode of GYS at Rugby. We're just on our way there now. So we're going to get there about 9:30. I think we've agreed to meet Alex and the guys at GYS. So we'll catch up with you in a bit. So that's us done at GYS for now. Interesting trip. Very surprised about some of that. I had no idea how big they were. That's quite a big company, that is. Interesting video, hopefully, that we've made. Hopefully that's going to be out in the next week or two if you're watching this as this video has just come out. That's the plan. It's going to be a mid-week special episode because we got so much footage there. Interviewing different people, trying different things, that it's got its own video. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming up in the next few weeks.
So, site bank, Stuart is currently fitting it up. So, with this first batch, we've had some slight teething issues in terms of the fit up of the door due to the concrete bowing the panels very slightly. So, Stuart is just tweaking some of the panels on the door to make it fit perfectly. So we don't want to do a one size fits all for the doors on this. We want to make it so it's as snug of a fit as possible. So over time, it's possible that this panel here will get a little bit of wearing, so where the paint sort of rubs just a little bit. So we'll just put some grease on there for the time being anyway. But that's all very completely normal. That is on purpose so that the door is as close to this back panel as possible so you can't pry it open. So yeah, because there are latches on most of these faces of the door, that is part of the design. So I'll take you through to the main workshop now where Rob and Steve are. So George and Connor are both on holiday. The lovely Colin is through in the cutting room, so I'll show you that afterwards, what he's been up to. If we come out here, I will take you over to what Rob is doing. Rob is currently fabricating some sides for the E21Cs. This is the trusty jig that we have had for 3 years at least 3 years. And it's only today that Rob's done another modification to it. So we're always on about improving here. Any suggestions for improvements, we'd love to hear them. So if you have any improvement suggestions in the comments, constructive criticism please. No, oh, this is crap, that's rubbish. We want constructive criticism, which is what we tell everyone in the workshop as well. So, and in the office, if they see something that they think we can improve, that's fine. So Rob has come up with the idea of setting these bits of box section up from the main jig, and that is essentially a spacer for what we call the hockey sticks. So I'll show you now the efficiency that Rob has found. So this is a welded side of an E21C. So this is what we call a hockey stick, purely because of the shape of it. It's in the rough shape of a hockey stick. This connects up multiple parts of this top section, just gives it a bit more rigidity. And then all these holes in the side of it are for our electrician Sean. He connects some of his screws through there for the cabling when it comes from the screen box down to the control panel. So previously you sort of had to mark up with a sort of adjustable set square, just to tell you the height of where this goes. Whereas now Rob has done that for this first one, set this in position, and then put the box section up to it. So going forwards, all we need to do is drop the box section onto it. It might be a very simple thing, but we've all overlooked it for a little while, and it's probably saved 10-15 minutes per side of these E21Cs. So for the amount we do, that is going to save tens of hours every single year, I would say. So That is great work from Rob. That's what we want more of in the workshop, more improvements. But yeah, so this is one of two. Rob's about to start getting all the other parts tacked up inside the jig. Are we right to put a time lapse for that? Can we time lapse that? Yeah. Yeah, so we'll try and get a time lapse of that. Quite an interesting process, I'd say. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 different beams that go on here. 7 or 8 different beams. This hockey stick, and then the 2 tie down points on either side that go onto this frame. So there's not many parts for this section of it, at least. So there's other parts that go onto this later on in the process. But as it is, it's a flat part at the minute. That is all it is. So yeah, we'll get a time lapse of Rob doing that. So leading on from the eternal seat, we're coming over to the site bank. So this is the site bank that we're going to plant works at the end of next month. So this is with the redesign. So we can see here checker plate flooring. So the previous ones did not have checker plate flooring. Well, this is Durbar technically, different to checker plate, but all the same to me. So yeah, Durbar flooring. This is the very base. So 80 by 160 box section. Steve is currently fabricating the very top section, so that's 80 by 80 box section, and then we've got the 4 corner posts and then all the intermittent posts that will then be going in afterwards. So that is where this is at for now. Everything else I think is cut. Colin's done all that. So yeah, we'll take you over there into the cutting room and I'll show you some more little changes that I've been doing today. So what we struggle with as a company in general, and Gav won't mind me saying this, is storage. We always want to do a lot, but we want it to be the best of the best. So out here is where we've got some of our excess metal storage. So due to the size of our racking, we originally made it for 2.5 meters by 1.25 meter sheets. These are our outdoor stillages. So these are for anything really, but we are currently using them for some of the larger sheets to be stored outside. So we weren't using the cultivar, which has got a 3 by 1.5 meter bed on it, or that can accommodate 3 by 1.5 meters sheets at least. We weren't using those size sheets when we made the original racking, and the racking works well. There's no point redesigning it and making it a bigger racking. The space inside the workshop wouldn't allow for it, I don't think. So this is what we've got, and then we've got some of the other excess sheets just to the side, which overnight will be covered up with tarpaulin. So the couple minutes it's going to take most nights / most mornings, if we need to take it on and off, is much faster than having to clean the rust off. So not ideal. However, it's little improvements like that that do eventually go a long way. So follow me into the cutting room. So we've got cultivar working now. This is a job for a plant machinery dealership. These are some shims for diggers, I believe. So there are 20 of these, I think. So different sizes. These are all 2mm thick. We've got another thickness of 1mm, so that would be what Colin is cutting next. So these come in, they've requested them at 65mm ID and 80mm OD, for instance. That's just an example. And what we'll do is we'll just check to make sure that that fits on around the solid bar that we've got in the workshop. And then, because the 65mm, if it's bang on 65, it won't work essentially. We need to do it 65.1, 65.2, which we just need to tweak very carefully with the cultivar. So because of the cut width on it, it does change very slightly. So we've got a stock of different size bars. So this is all solid bright bar. Some of it is black bar, to be fair, some of the smaller stuff, but this is solid bright bar. Some of it's a little bit dusty, but any of these shims Colin will be checking on the stock we have. Yeah, I think an order came in yesterday. I got it in the workshop this morning, and due to the little break in cutting time that we've got right now, Colin's had a chance to just do that, so that's good.
So I may have mentioned before, we've got a project coming up that is a little bit top secret. Let me explain a little bit more behind that. we've been approached by a company that has a specific waste problem, and it's quite a competitive market, and they've come to us and asked for a solution to this problem. Now, they've commissioned us to come up with a test plant to prove the principle that we've come up with, and I'm just going to show you the drawings of what it is. But I've had to sign an NDA on this, because if other people work out how to get around this specific problem, they lose their competitive advantage. So I can't tell you who the company is, I can't tell you what the product is, okay? But what I can tell you is this is a test plant that if this proves the principle, there'll be a much bigger machine built off the back of it if the numbers stack up after this initial test. So in essence, what it's going to be is a wash trommel, is what it's going to be. So let me just show you what it is that we're going to build for them. Right, so ignore the post-it notes because the customer's name's under there. That's what that's all about. But actually, it's like a really small trommel is what we're doing. And we've got a trommel drum inside with the material being fed into a chute. And then the water collects underneath, and this is basically a settlement tank under here. So dimensions-wise, the drum's 1200 long by 700 diameter. So it's not particularly, what's that, 4 foot by just over 2 foot in old money. Not particularly big. The idea of this is that we're going to run some material through it to prove the principle, and then to work out the throughput we could get through this machine to then work out what we need to scale it up to the tonnages that we've got. So that's what the machine's going to look like when it's finished, and that consists of a frame like this that the trommel will sit in. So we'll have 4 wheels in here for the trommel to sit in, and then underneath there will be a motor mounted, and it will just be a belt drive. We'll just put a flat serpentine belt around the drum onto the motor below, and the drum itself is basically this. So it's 1200 long, 700 in diameter. We'll have drum rings each end, but we'll roll this as a complete, this will be a flat plate that we'll roll and weld up, and then what we'll do is we'll put a mesh inside the drum so that it's just mesh on the inside, and then the material can rumble around in there and get washed. So there you go, new project. It's going to be called the Top Secret Project because, like, for reasons I've just explained, can't tell you any more about it than that. But we'll bring the build to you. I think it's an interesting project. We'll bring the build to you, and we might show you some of the actual testing.
So Steve is currently looking for some panels. The framework for the most part is all together. The internal roof is on. So you can see here, we've got the internal roof with the angled bits here. So that is to allow the concrete to flow from the roof down to the side of these panels essentially. So all of these are filled with concrete. It looks very strange in here, to be honest, sort of spacious wise, with it so light. Next step for Steve, so you can see Adam follows me down here. He's marked up the bottom of where his panels are going to be. So he's about to get some box section or some sheet steel of some sort and tack that all in place. And then himself plus probably another person will be putting these panels on. So some of them Steve will be able to do by himself. Some of them he will need a handful, I would imagine. Change of design since last time. So a lot of these were in 2 halves. We're binning that off. This is all one post, one sheet. This side's all one sheet. The only part that is in 2 parts is the back, due to the sheer size of it. So the front, we don't need to because it's in side section, and door, with the door that slides obviously, whereas the back doesn't have that opportunity, so it's just 2 sheets stacked on top of each other to make up the back panel. So that is the next step for the sight bank. Steve is currently working on it. So you haven't seen any of this project yet. This material here, so we've got some 40 by 40 box section, and I believe some 50 by 50 angle. Yeah, 50 by 50 angle 40 box section. This is for some IBC lifting stands. So on construction sites across the UK, there are often IBCs just dotted about for different purposes. This is for a company that we do a lot of work for. They have many of our site boxes, they've got some of our site banks, and then we work closely with some of their engineers who go out on site to work. So these are, we're making 5 of them to begin with, 5.5 metre high, so 500mm high lifting stands. They are at an angle, they can support the weight of an IBC. So the company approached us, we didn't sort of come out our way and design this, the company approached us and asked us to make this. They do exist out there, we're not creating anything brand new, amazing, genius invention. They do already exist, however they would like us to make them to make their supply chain a lot easier because we already work with them so much. We came in cheaper than other places they'd found online, so that is also a great bonus. So they've got the supply chain sorted, they've got the cost justification sorted, and they know our quality. They know that we can produce good quality machines and equipment, so this is the equipment from site. So yeah, unfortunately we haven't had any of this cut on camera, but we will probably get some of this done for fabrication on camera. So that will be very interesting to see. And then if I take you over here, we'll show you Ashley, who is currently folding some of the E21C that will be going to plant works. So he's currently on the brake press. This is the makings of a conveyor essentially. So we've got conveyor side, we've got greedy boards, back panel for the greedy boards. This is all the folded pallet, and then this is all the flat sheet steel pallet. So Ashley is pretty new to folding, however he is doing a smashing job. I've given him another sort of rundown this morning, and yeah, he's getting on really well with it. So that is exactly what we want. Yeah, I think that's it, Adam.
Friday morning, and you might recognise where I am. Customer rang up yesterday. Now we've had some lads up here this week just tidying up some of the side skirts. Side skirts aren't really working as well as we want, so we've ordered some new stuff, and the lads are coming up next week to change it. George has just tweaked the conveyor model a bit, so the rollers just sit ever so slightly lower in the chassis, and the side skirt that we normally use didn't think it was going to be a problem. Well, it has. It doesn't come onto the belt far enough, so we've ordered some new wider stuff. So the lads are coming up here next week to sort that out. But a customer rang up yesterday and said, got a very slight vibration from vibrating feeder number 2. So we sort of put our heads together yesterday, and I thought, well, I might know what that is. So let me show you. So the feeder hopper itself has got a base in it, and then this plate is welded, and it's been folded down here. And you can see where my fingers are, you can see the fold lines. The idea being that you're creating like an arrow shape, so as the material falls on it, it spreads it to the sides. We didn't know how successful that was going to be, so we've now welded some bars down here. It was spreading it to, say, here, but we just want to bring stuff out a little bit wider. So because that's a double laminated plate on there, it should just lift up from the edge to there, but it's not, and I think what it's doing, it's springing. So what I've done is I'm going to plug weld here. Got 3 holes there and 3 holes across there that will sort of connect the top and bottom together and hopefully get rid of the vibration. So I've just drilled them holes with a mag drill. Just going to get the weld and weld them up. So I've welded that up, and that is a lot better, a lot quieter. It's just where the 2 plates were vibrating against each other. Might not have done any harm to it, to be honest, but just don't want the noise. It's just far too noisy. I'll show you the weld and stuff. That's all it is. Drill a hole, fill it up with weld, so you're joining the top plate to the top plate to the bottom plate, and it just gets rid of that vibration. Interestingly, this side here was pretty close, where the other side was a little bit further away. Just how it got folded on this fold here, I think. That's all it was. I'll run it up and show you what I mean. So that's it, run it up. a lot quieter. It looks weird on camera, it looks like it's going really slow, but in reality that's actually quite fast. So that's that job taken care of. As I say, we've got 2 of the lads up here next week changing side skirts. As I say, George had dropped the rollers down a little bit, and interestingly on the CAD it looked as though the side skirts were going to be absolutely fine, but the reality is something different, which is something I've mentioned before. And we didn't pick it up in the workshop because, as we've previously mentioned as well, we leave the side skirts high so we can track the belt, and then we adjust it down. It was only when we tracked the belt and adjusted them down that we actually realised that they weren't quite long enough. So whilst I'm up this way, and it is a Friday, and I've got nothing particular to do on the way back, I thought I'm going to go and see somebody. Now, if you look through our comments on every single one of our videos, I can guarantee that you'll see a comment from Gary Sides. Now, Gary Sides is well known in YouTube circles, and he's not been very well recently. So I thought, whilst I'm up this way, I would go and see him, and I've got him 2 packs of biscuits, and if he doesn't like biscuits, I'm bringing them home with me. So let's go and see him. Gary never told me that he was like Lord of the Manor. I wasn't expecting this. So that brings us on to this week's fun fact. Now, Adam hadn't heard of this before. He thought he'd found some revolutionary fun fact, didn't you, Adam?
I did.
But actually, I did know about this, and I'm sure a lot of older viewers will probably know about this one. The younger ones maybe less so. So this week's fun fact is all about the bouncing bomb in World War II. Now, a guy called Barnes Wallis, who was like a inventor cum engineer in World War II and was employed by the War Office at the time to come up with different ways of getting the Germans, shall we say. He came up with an idea because they wanted to get rid of the dams. They wanted to burst the dams in certain parts of Germany to flood the industrial sort of buildings below the dam. So what they did was, he came up with an idea of actually the bouncing bomb, and what that is, on the bottom of the Lancaster bombers they had a bomb, and they would spin the bomb backwards. So when that actually was dropped and it hit the water, it actually bounced across the water. Now, they dropped the bomb at 60 feet, which at night, in an aeroplane that had got no sort of autopilot or anything like that, they'd got balls of steel, them men, to do that. And the bomb aimer had this little thing, was made out of coat hangers, I think, and he sat there in the bomb aim, and when the 2 towers on the dam were level with the 2 bits on his aiming device, he would press release, and the idea was the bomb would bounce across the water, because they'd also got nets in the water to stop them doing this. So they needed to bounce the bomb over the top, and it needed to land against the dam, sink down and explode on a timed charge to then burst the dam. A lot of bombs were unsuccessful, but some were successful, and it did make a big impact on the result of the war. So there you go, that's it for this week. Like and subscribe, all the usual stuff, and we will see you next week. Now, I've hinted for some time. Have I hinted for some time about this? I can't remember if I have or not, if I'm honest.
And then, don't be a
I don't know if well as well.
hopefully.
And let me explain a little bit more. Let me